Hi, it's Victor Kim, minister here at Richmond Presbyterian Church, and welcome to our midweek meditation. This upcoming third week in Advent is the week of joy, the Sunday of joy. 3 simple letters, J-O-Y, but it's full of more meaning than we might dare to hold. Joy is the focus of this third Sunday in Advent. And it's like finally we've kind of turned a corner on this season of Advent. Our texts have gone from these sort of gloomy, apocalyptic foretelling of the end of the world to texts now that tell us to rejoice always, that our mouths are filled with laughter and our tongue with shouts of joy. It's like all of our preparation in Advent is finally coming to some sense of fruition. We're getting a glimpse of what's coming, and what's coming, friends, is joy. It's still not as easy to define as we might wish. I mean, what exactly is joy? I've said this before, that joy isn't the same as happiness. You know, we can manufacture a sense of happiness through our own efforts, right? We can work hard, we can be disciplined, we can sacrifice, short-term pain for long-term gain and all that kind of stuff. But you really can't manufacture joy. You can't create joy out of hard work. Joy is most real when it's really out of our ability to control or manufacture. It's most real when it's sudden, unexpected. Joy is most real when it's a gift, True joy is something that we really receive. Joy is an expression of God's free grace, and it's as unpredictable, says Frederick Buechner, as the one who gives it, who bestows it. We don't create joy, we receive it. We rest in it, we delight in it. What we realize about joy in all of our Advent preparation is that there's nothing we can do to get ourselves to joy. But there is someone who is also preparing in this season of Advent, and that someone is God. And God is preparing to bring joy to us. You see, we're not the only ones journeying in this season of Advent. God is also journeying, preparing, and moving toward us. God is the one who brings Jesus to us, who gives us the gift of God's own grace. We can't create joy, but we can prepare to receive it. John the Baptist, confronted by the authorities about his identity, said, "I'm not the Messiah. I'm the voice of the one crying out in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord," as the prophet Isaiah said. So if joy is coming, if God is bringing God's grace in the gift of God's Son, Jesus Christ, even if we can't do anything to make that happen, we can at least make straight the path by which that joy can get to us. During the time of Isaiah the prophet, it was the custom that if you wanted to invite the king to visit your community or to visit your village, before you extended an invitation for the king to come and visit, you would send out a crew to build a highway so that it would be easy for the king to get there. You wouldn't impolitely ask the king to come without preparing a smooth and even way for the king to get there. For joy to come to us, says Isaiah, says John, we should prepare a way. We should prepare a way in our hearts and in our souls. If we can't make joy happen, and we can't, Isaiah says, then make a way for that joy to come to you. Make then a way for that joy to come to you. It's joy that the prophet says will be good news to the oppressed, news that will bind up the brokenhearted, news that will proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners. Joy is the proclamation of the year of the Lord's favor, comfort for all those who mourn. Joy, God's joy, is a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, a mantle of praise instead of a faint spirit. And so we will greatly rejoice in the Lord. Our whole being shall exult in our God, and the Lord will cause righteousness and praise to spring up before all the nations. This is God's joy. This is God's joy. This is what God is preparing to bring to us. This is what God brought in the gift of Jesus in Bethlehem. And this is what God will bring to completion when Christ returns to creation. And the good news of great joy is that there is a special word of comfort in God's joy to those who suffer, to a world that's suffering, that the oppressed will be released, that the brokenhearted will be healed, that those who are held down will be liberated, those who mourn will be comforted. We think of all that's so difficult to comprehend in our world right now, the suffering, the injustice, the inequality. We think of all that disturbs us, our worries, our anxieties, our doubts, and our fears. And we're told now that it's not really up to us to finally fix or figure out how all of this gets solved for good. We aren't the only ones journeying in Advent, right? God is on the move. God is on the move. God is preparing God's immeasurable joy, God's liberating, healing, releasing, comforting joy to unleash upon God's creation, to proclaim God's favor to the world. We don't have to figure this out all on our own, but we do have to prepare a way for the return of the King. We have to prepare a way for the return of the King. Joy is coming. Joy is coming. Nothing we can create or work for, but as a gift from God. Joy is coming because God is on the move, because God is moving toward us. Joy is coming at Christmas in the gift of a baby in a manger, a gift that changes everything, a gift that unbalances what the world thinks it knows. That in this small, vulnerable child, born to a confused, perplexed, frightened couple in the middle of nowhere, God unleashes the power of love, of light in the darkness, which the darkness will never, ever overcome. Joy is coming to give us strength to work for justice, to fill our lungs to praise the one who is love made incarnate, and also to speak for those who have no voice of their own. Joy is coming to encourage us to be steadfast in our faithfulness and trust in the face of bad news, sad news, news of death, news of dying, news of pain and brokenness, unexpected, unwelcomed news. Joy is coming to tell us that it's not the end. It's not the end. Life is far more than what the eye can see or what the ear can comprehend, what the ear can hear, what the mind can comprehend. We're getting close. We are getting close. But God is getting closer. God is moving closer. God is on the move this Advent. Joy is coming. Are you getting ready? Are you getting ready? May we be getting ready. Friends, I want to invite you to listen to a musical meditation by Jannie Burdeti, our music director. It's a lovely French carol, Bring a Torch, Jeannette, Isabella. And I hope you will enjoy this musical meditation and that you will know God's joy throughout the week. Bless you.